Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and desirable partner.
Hello! It's Alexander Dundino.
Oh my! Oh, is that a fallen woman I see? Oh my!
This befallen woman here.
Oh! Well, if you were on the fence, everyone has turned it off by now. But we still might as well do our business. People, it's official. We're on Patreon. That's right. Patreon.com/Film Alchemist Pod. If you want to come get a look at our daughters all lined up in a row.
Patronage the dowry, please. Ooh.
That's right. My God. Yeah, just go over to Patreon. Great way to support the show. We appreciate it. We have a massive exclusive library. Almost none of them have bad accents, I promise you. You can vote on the movies
have bad accents.
Shh, quiet, bitch. You can vote on the movies you want to hear. You can even pick your own double feature at high enough levels. You get commentaries. You get our Tales from the Crypt miniseries. We have other miniseries possibly in the work. Lots of fun stuff over there. We work very hard to make that worth your time and support. So please, 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 please don't make us be an old spinster. Go over to patreon.com/Film Alchemist Pod. The YouTube you can subscribe to, Film Alchemist. See our faces. We're a little behind, but we're catching up. My actual video production job is ruining my schedule. You can go to email us, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials you're on. So reach on out, talk to us, suggestions, things you like, movies you'd like to see. We are always interested to hear what you guys have. We actually have an incredible slate coming up that we can't wait to announce. So yeah, join us on all your socials. Guys, an easy thing you can do that helps us out. You can't donate to Patreon, we understand. A free and simple thing that you can do for us. Leave a 5-star rating and review on every app you get podcast. Easy. Takes a couple seconds and shockingly does help us algorithmically. We all kneel to the algorithm. But one thing we're asking you guys this year, send an episode to a friend. If you got a movie-loving friend, send them an episode of a movie they like. We'll take it from there, guys. We're asking you to make direct personal contacts with your friends so they can be our friends. This is the year of blowing this motherfucker up. All right. Enough of that. You're not here for business. It's time to talk about perhaps the most transactional movie I've ever seen in my life. So this is the pod tells a love story month. And I want to be careful here. As many listeners know, I'm an avid reader, but I've never actually read a Jane Austen story.
Really?
So I don't.
You would have at least read one.
No, and actually I thought
am
after watching this that I feel like I should because it's so present in culture, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to anger the Austen hive. I'm going to come right out and say it. I actually thought this was an awesome movie. Like, it was a really good watch. It's very well crafted. Mm-hmm. It's engaging. Even though it's not really my thing normally, this was a very well played movie.
I told you.
I also want to say the fact that this is under the guise of a true romance is kind of shocking to me, right? Like at the end when it's like, oh no, I actually love the man with all the money and resources to fix every problem in my family. It's true love only. I struggled with that a bit. I feel like, because I felt watching it, I just was telling my wife, I was like, this feels like the shittiest time ever to be alive.
Right.
And I think the movie addresses that to some extent, and then it gets into a little bit of this Beauty and the Beast, like, oh, that thing got a library? All right, I might throw it back at him. You know what I mean? It gets into that weird, shady area.
Sure.
Anywho, a fun movie. We are going to talk about it as guys who have not read the book. I don't know, maybe you have. I was led to believe there were zombies in this. Apparently not.
There's zombies in another version of this, yes.
Right. So, Alex, opening thoughts on Pride and Prejudice.
I also think this movie's pretty awesome.
It's a really well crafted movie.
It's really well done.
It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, like it's shot remarkably. Like it's also so. This adaptation is very specific, and apparently, like this is something my wife loves. This movie. This is like one of her all-time favorite movies. she told me amongst Austinites or whatever you're supposed to call
Austin Hive, whatever.
This is apparently not as beloved as some of the other versions. There is the most famous version of the adaptations is this, besides Bridget Jones' Diary, is
Bridget Jones's Diary is Pride and Prejudice?
Yes.
I've never seen it either, but
so there's a 6-hour version of this that's like the most famous, starring Colin Firth and Jennifer L. from the BBC.
Ew. Was it played as a miniseries?
Yeah. It's done like a miniseries.
Ew. Ew.
So
how long is this book? Is it like it?
So Colin Firth is like the perennial Mr. Darcy. Not only that, because he also played Mr. Darcy in the
also because he plays a great unlovable cock.
That too. Yeah, he's very good at. But yeah. So, but this version is the adaptation is very specific and apparently is not most beloved. I think this is probably the best adaptation you got out there.
This is a 432-page book. 6 hours. The entirety of Lord of the Rings is like 9 hours. Extended cuts.
And this one's only 2
hours.
Those
motherfuckers had to be armies. All these people had to do was just realize that the accounting was right.
All these people had to do was just marry their cousin and line up their monies.
There's a lot of cousin fucking going on in this time.
Yeah, a lot of it's very Kentucky in that way.
When did the cousin fucking go out of
Sorry
vogue? Because not only the guy's like a priest who just shows up.
Yeah,
and is like, hey, I'm here to swipe a cousin. And I was like, wait, what? Yeah. I thought I had missed something.
So he apparently...
And then later it's like, no, Mr. Darcy has to marry my daughter, his cousin.
Like a really... There's stuff... Because, for me, the aesthetics of this movie, like, are always very brilliant. Like, and that's the thing that makes me want to watch it, because I'm not...
That's what puts the sugar on the incestual subplots?
That's what puts the sugar on just the movie of the story in general. Because I agree, like the transactional nature of a lot of this, you're just like, I don't understand what's romantic about a lot of this.
Okay, and this is the thing. Hard. I don't have a background in Austin.
I don't.
Nor am I particularly a romantic at heart. This movie felt very skeezy to me at times. Like the mom is one of the most hateable characters I've ever seen in a movie. Right? Like I really despise their mother. But the movie does a pretty good job. By the end, I felt like I at least understood why I hated her so bad. Because I'm watching her from this modern lens, but this is a woman who, right, her own daughters can't inherit their house because they're daughters.
Right.
So in her mind, it's, I got to get these girls out there to someone else. Otherwise, they'll all be homeless when we
not only
on.
that.
So I quasi-understand, but man, I fucking hated her guts.
This is something else I didn't realize that Andrea was, because when we were watching it last night, Andrea was telling me this was like another thing, was the reason that they have to marry off the Bennett daughters specifically is because, and the reason like they have to marry them to like rich guys and not just for love essentially is apparently because like having 5 daughters, because I was just like, why did these assholes keep having kids? Jesus Christ. Like, this is a big problem. If her and Donald Sutherland can't get down and make a dude, like, what's, like, and that was the thing. Andrea was like, well, they kept trying boys. Kept trying to have boys because boys can accrue you money.
Yeah,
like,
if you had a boy, you could get their run-down house, and you just have that.
Right. Well, that you can inherit it and that kind of thing. Right. So if you only have women,
and honestly,
you have
not even like a bad shanty. Like, they still had a cook.
Dude, it was a nice house.
That's pretty sick.
And yeah, they have someone cooking their food.
Yeah.
Again, not the worst place to live. Like,
the grotesqueries of watching this mom sling her daughters, right? 2 of which are not even 16 years old yet.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard to watch. Every conversation is in that vein. It's unseemly. But again, the movie kind of brings it back, right? It reminds us of the struggle of the mother in that era.
Yeah. There is this like
man, did I hate her.
The classism thing is really interesting, and I think the other reason that I like the aesthetic of this movie particularly, this is the only way I know how to put it, so it's going to sound bad, but I like that I'm pretty sure I know how everybody smells in this movie. Like, clearly no one bathes, like, ever.
Everyone in this time period smelled bad.
Yeah. Like,
it's too many clothes.
Too many clothes.
Not enough shower. You smell bad.
You smell terrible.
Wear a 3-piece suit in August. anywhere outdoors, you're gonna smell bad.
Yeah,
And that's with our modern wizardry.
I like the aesthetic of that in this movie. Is like, okay, cool. Everyone's just a little bit dirty. Like
That
no one's
is such a wildly self-exposing statement.
Why?
I like watching movies where I know the smells.
No, for this particular, not for every movie. This one particularly.
You're like watching Event Horizon, and you're like, I need more scents.
No. Well, if you can't smell Event Horizon, I don't know what I don't know what your problem is.
I imagine it's like a cold winter day, and you get that one waft of life. You're like, what the fuck is that? Neither here nor there.
No, the reason I say that, and the reason I like the aesthetic so much of this movie is because, like the way we started the pod with these like these upper crust accents, that kind of thing. That like Mrs. Doubtfire voice.
Yeah,
I think a lot about how the reason this movie connects with people in general, and I think that is because it's not everyone wearing like high collars, and no one's dressed in all white for the entire movie. It's not a 6-hour Regency costume drama. It's a 2-hour movie about people who wear muted colors and live on the moors. Like it's a really,
and it's a come up movie.
Yeah.
Like, let's not be coy. This is Cinderella in another dressing. Like, this is a story that people love, is that I am an undiscovered fount of resource and wealth, and the world doesn't know it.
It's because, like, so Keira Knightley is Elizabeth Bennet. The reason because Elizabeth Bennet is essentially, she's outspoken because she said an opinion one time, and that's, like, unheard of in Austen era. Yeah. But the other reason...
I mean, isn't Jane Austen known for that, though? For her characters who are bucking the status quo?
Yeah, that's her brand.
Okay.
Like, that's the Jane Austen thing, which is cool. Like, again, that's fine. And my wife loves Jane Austen. Like, this is like a huge...
She was an English major, that tracks.
She was an English major. She was a lit major. She loves Jane Austen. She loves this movie. There's another movie that she and another friend of hers watch all the time called Austenland. That's literally about a fucking Jane Austen book club. It's...
Yikes.
At least I think that's what it is.
Maybe I got to get in on some Jane Austen. I got to read something.
You might have to. I think I probably need to like maybe reinvest. I might actually
I mostly
need to
read a lot of horror, science fiction, and then like weird philosophy books.
I might need to read Pride and Prejudice, actually.
Okay.
Shit.
Interesting. Maybe we'll do that. We'll have a book club on our own.
Maybe we'll have a book club on the pod.
Maybe the book can explain to me this. Did Mr. Darcy ever stop being a cock?
No. Isn't that awesome, though?
This is something that bothers me in this tale of romance.
It does not bother me at all.
Because there's this moment when Keira Knightley's talking. By the way, what I love most about this movie is the fucking cast.
Yeah. Oh,
fucking
dude. The cast is unbelievable.
Stacked. And she's talking to a man I love, Donald Sutherland, right? She's like, I was wrong about him, father. It's like, no, you weren't. He fucking said your family was trash. He torpedoed your sister's wedding, right?
He's a dick.
You know, maybe you were wrong about Soldier Boy was also a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But Mr. Darcy fucking sucks. Everything about that guy sucks. Until she fucking rolls up to his immaculate-ass mansion, and she's in his, third study that's full of fucking sculptures. Then all of a sudden she looks at that sculpture, I'm like, you know what? Not bad.
Actually,
not bad.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is that when they're there, and it's after they go, because Rosamund Pike goes to meet Bingley, who is the dude that she wants to bang out, and she gets sick because
I feel like the Austin Hive is definitely going to yell at us for our lack
for
of...
sure. Like we're very uncouth to be talking about Jane Austen. So
if you didn't get from our introduction that this was not going to be a college lecture, I am sorry and I apologize.
So Rosamund Pike shows up because she rode on horseback. And also, this is the crazy thing. This is another reason the mom sucks. She purposely sent her daughter on horseback knowing it was going to rain, knowing she'd catch a cold and pretty much almost die, by the way.
Yeah. She wanted her to do the classic, National Lampoon college comedy, oh, I'm so wet.
Oh, sorry,
I'm so
wet.
wet.
And then she caught a cold, and everyone's like, "Oh, she might die now."
And then she could have just died because it was, back then when we didn't have medicine.
1800s were literally like, "Well, we'll just have a horse kick her in the head."
The mom literally wrote in her mind the opening of the film Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves that leads to a threesome and various physical assaults. But no, Darcy, right? Because there's this wonderful scene, right? Some of the best stuff in the movie is when they shoot the balls.
Yeah.
The way they move the camera around the location in these long shots, right? Mm-hmm. And we see the way the characters are popping in and out of the background, right? It makes it feel very lived in. You're still getting action and movement from characters even when they're not the focal point. So I love the way they shoot the balls, right? There's this one scene where she's dancing with that fucking C word, Mr. Darcy. Let's just call him Mr. D-hole, right, for the rest of the pod. So they start dancing, right?
Coolest guy ever.
She's like, well, this is better than banging my cousin, the creepy priest, or whatever. Wonderful performance, by the way.
Okay.
Tom Hollander, great. But so they're dancing, right?
Tom Hollander's amazing.
He's so good. And at the start of the movie, he's like, oh, Elizabeth is all right, but she's not hot enough to tempt me. And I was like, all right, damn, shots fired.
Dude, that was like the best.
But
she's like underneath
they're dancing.
Yeah, she's right. She's kind of
they're
plain, don't you
dancing
think?
at the ginger guy's hall.
Yeah.
And there's this great moment. I thought this was a really nice moment, and a moment I didn't expect for this movie particularly. But they're kind of dancing, and they're almost like talking shit to each other, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's a subtle like audio fade out, and they're the only two dancing in the room now.
Yeah.
And I don't know because I like this moment visually. I also think it's misleading. Because I think it's the movie trying to tell us, I think the movie tries like 6 times to tell us wealth is not part of the equation.
Which is not true at all.
It's hard to accept in this time period and era when everything is about class and wealth.
Yeah.
Right? I think, come on. But I like that moment where even though he's kind of a dick, she somewhat is falling for him, right? And it is a universal law of the nature. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Right.
I thought that was a cool
This
scene.
is the thing, what I like about, again, Matthew McFadden, like he's famous now for being this like fucking goof on Succession. Matthew McFadden is a fucking dreamboat in this movie. Like, I mean.
Is he though?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, man.
Is he though?
Yeah. 1,000%.
I want a fucking straw poll.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm down.
All right, so we're split. We need more straws.
I'd let his unwashed ass throw me one. 1,000.
You are lying your ass up. That guy looks like French Barney Fife.
You're telling me that when he walks up on the moors at the end of the movie, you're telling me that would not like fucking get you going?
No!
Sure to gape? Oh, please.
No, that guy can't drive a nail. That guy can't fucking break a horse. That guy can't light a campfire. No
okay,
way.
Cool. Well,
not that those are my specific turn-ons.
No, that's what you just said. Is those are your specific terms for?
There is a level of macho-ness.
So Griffey would fuck Bob Vila, and the rest of us will have sex with Mr. Darcy.
Yeah, Bob Vila's manly as fuck.
Yeah, I get it. You and Bob Vila fucking.
My man crush, without making it weird, because someday we're going to hang out and be best friends, is Jason Momoa.
Okay.
I have a certain type. I like a butch, macho type of guy. And someday when me and him hang out, I'm going to be like, sorry about all those jokes I made on the pod. That was gross.
I got some inside info for you after the pod then about Jason Momoa.
Awesome. Me and him are going to be best fucking friends. We're going to do each other's hair and do manly shit.
Regardless.
This guy looks, Mr. Darcy looks like a fucking doofus. He looks like a kid that Judd Nelson would give a wedgie to in French high school.
No. Sorry. No.
He's a Zeo Maxi Zoom dweeby or whatever.
Nope.
I want to take a poll. Here's the thing: has he been cast in anything else as a sex pot?
I mean, I don't know. All I've ever seen Matthew McFadden in besides this one is he was in that Paul W.S. Anderson Three Musketeers, and then he's done Succession. Those are the only things. I know he's very popular in British television, but I don't see him in a lot of other stuff.
Probably always as a doofus.
No. Either way. Regardless,
yeah.
I think what is interesting about like how, and again, I'm not a Jane Austen scholar. The dynamic between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy is specific to. It's almost like you're negging each other the whole time. Like that's how I always interpret it. Especially like I've watched this enough with my wife to know. I'm like I feel like these two are just like literally just negging each other the entire movie until the very like. Well, all right, I actually dig you. So,
there is a certain group of people that is their love language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I do think it's a little convenient that as soon as he comes through with the fucking statue room and the big bucks to save Jenna Malone, who's about to go fucking whore around and blow it, right?
Yeah.
She's like 14 years old.
Yeah.
And she gets fucking taken by this fucking predatory man, right? Who bought her a ribbon at the start. So now she's going to ruin this whole family.
Was that Rupert Friend's character? Yeah, Wickham. Yeah.
Yeah, so Darcy comes through on giving them the money to not fucking ruin this 14-year-old's life, which is fucking crazy. Because the mom's like, she'll ruin us with her whoring.
Yeah, Jenna Malone and the Grand Inquisitor run off.
Yeah, well, she's a child. I guess back then that's, you could fuck young people and cousins and priests and whatever.
Look, I think we need to point this out. This is just one of those things, like, I don't know anything about society in the 1800s,
that
but
time
I'm pretty
aside,
sure.
Right?
That time, like, 30 was old age.
Darcy's got statues. He ponies up to fucking save the sister. And then he's getting an awful lot of credit for bringing the ginger man back after he's the one who told the gingerbread man to run from this scruffy, motley family down there. So maybe you don't get any credit for that. Maybe you fucking almost blew the marriage, so when you bring him back, you don't get to smile.
Perhaps you're learning about, but he's learning about himself, maybe. Maybe it's a matter of growing as a character, perhaps.
If I come and shit on your rug, but then I pick it up and flush it, you're still always going to be thinking of me as the guy who shit on your rug.
Actually, I'd think of the guy, I'm like, how did he think that he was going to be able to flush a rug down the toilet?
Not the rug. The cleaning accoutrement and the victim itself. You would always think of me as, that guy shit on my rug. I could never escape that in your life.
I think of you as the dumbest person ever for cleaning up a shit that you made on your rug. Like, why would you shit on my rug in the first place? You're just going to clean it up. Stupid.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That is Mr. D-Hole. I rest my case. Matlock has rested his case. I think that's a little suspect.
I think that
he's getting a lot of credit for just undoing things that he was a douche about.
I mean, it's like that it's restitution, I guess. I don't know. Like, again, it's one of those things where I'm like, if you are a dick for a majority of the story, and then you're like, I was a dick, I probably need to, like, set some things right, then, yeah, you probably get a little bit of credit where credit's due.
It's not restitution as much as redistribution of wealth. That's what it is.
I'm not sure I'd go there, but either way.
You think that there is no part of her that saw that baller-ass estate, and I was like, you know what? Maybe he's not such a dick like I thought.
I don't think she thinks... Here's the thing.
The movie definitely is telling us she is not chasing him for his wealth. Both
of them say things at the beginning of the movie that establish very quickly their biases towards each other, which is, he's like an uppity asshole.
I'm not calling out Elizabeth. All of us in society, even to this day, that is something that plays into our thought process. That's part of life. I'm not shitting on her, because if I saw that house, I would also
the bias that people have, that's how life works. So it's a very common thing. And again, in Jane Austen times, I'm sure people looked at someone's material wealth as like, oh, that person is rich.
I mean, that could mean survival back then, dude.
Right. So they're rich, therefore they're better. They're poor, therefore they're not. Like, there are things that haves and haves not, that haves and have not thing.
Sadly, we have not shucked yet in our modern society still.
Sure. But this was also before the invention of the middle class, essentially. Like, this is like a really important thing, is like, there were people who were rich.
Reagan's
and there were
waiting
people
room.
Who were poor. I mean, but this is exactly what it is. Is like, okay.
Shots fired.
Money is obviously important in this movie. Like,
money
people's
is
material
still
wealth
to
is
this
important.
day a turn on. I agree with you. No doubt about it.
1,000%. Like, that I think is important. What Joe Wright does in this movie, though, and something that I think this is what makes it accessible to dummies like you and me, is that when we watch it, like, you and I are going to sit here and talk about it because that's hilarious, and like, we're obviously like, there's seriously money. That's cannon fodder. That's good. What Joe Wright does in this movie that's exceptional is he spends enough time building this, like, really, really simmering pot of relationship for Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy that material wealth conversation evaporates when that scene with Donald Sutherland happens. Like, it's this weirdest thing that, like, we should all be sitting here doing exactly what we're doing right now. It's like, dude, this guy fucked up so bad, and now he's just going around fixing problems with money, but I love him. It's like, that's bullshit. Like, anybody else would be like, well, that guy's still fucking asshole. Like, but what it is is we've spent so much time with this buried moment. These things that are like just barely under the surface, like totally buttoned up under these 30-piece dresses, 30-button dresses, that finally when the gloves come off and all this stuff happens, it is just like this outpouring of emotion. So like when you get that scene on the moors, it's shot spectacularly and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And you have Matthew McFadden give that, like, it's only a couple of lines, but it's so loaded with emotion and just this outpouring of just abstract beauty that it's a vibe. Like, you just feel it. It's perfect. It's pitch perfect pacing. Mm-hmm. And Joe Wright does such a good job,
I agree with
leading us down the path. It's interesting.
Yeah.
However,
it's got
the whole
that,
thing's about money.
The whole fucking thing is about money, right? Because the mom from the day they were infants has indoctrinated them. Right. This is not the girl's fault. They can't be held accountable for this. I just think it's funny because this is held up.
It's really
as this,
the dad's
like,
fault.
Romance for the ages, right? Like, oh my God, it's sweep you off your feet romance, blah, blah. And maybe that's just my lack of information, right? But that's how Austen's always sold to me, is it's these characters that buck the system and they find true love despite. Come on, a little bit. And again
I don't know.
I think that's unfair of storytelling, right? Because you got to take into account the world people live in, right? Wealth is super fucking important in this time.
Right.
In our time, in all times, right? Having a castle would make you more bangable than anyone else in town.
So I think, yeah, I mean, it's just I want to point this out. I'm gonna go back to some of these performances because first off, I think Keira Knightley is
so good,
amazing, and I also I have not seen a lot of Keira Knightley movies where I think she's like the standout performance. She's unbelievable, but my favorite moment in the entire movie, and I had to pause because I was laughing so much last night, was when they're at the second ball and Tom Hollander notices that Darcy's there, I'm going to go over there. And he walks up right behind him and he does that cough, look over here.
Tom Hollander is awesome in this movie.
Amazing. It was so funny. And I was like, that's another thing that Joe Wright does is there's this practical comedy beats and there's practical comedy beats in this movie that are so clever. But
him reading out of the Bible, right, about intercourse. No, I mean
God.
in the course of. It's great. It's really funny.
It's
yeah,
so
Tom
good.
Hollander was awesome in this movie too. There's that great moment where her friend, who they keep calling not handsome, she takes Hollander's hand, right? She's like, I'll marry the cousin fucking priest or whatever. And Keira Knightley judges the shit out of her for it.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I'll have a home. I'll be protected, right? And she goes, I'm 27 years of age. Don't you dare judge me for this.
Right.
I thought that was also an important scene.
It is. Because
it sets the stakes of what these women are going through.
It does establish also for us dum-dums that 27 is super old at that time.
Yeah, put the cow out to pasture age.
Yeah, that's straight up spinster.
Which again is wild, right? Because no one
crazy.
wants to get married in their 20s anymore.
Right.
But that's just what it was. It's you got to have male heirs. You got to propagate this patriarchy, right? So you have to be on the ball. And so, yeah, it is. I thought her scene was interesting because, one, she tells Keira Knightley, fuck off, don't judge me.
Yeah.
And then Keira Knightley goes and, sees her, and she's so happy in that house. She's like, I have a little room. I run my own house. You see how these small little things have meant the world to her. Because she was a woman who was afraid she would not get chosen. And how scary that must have been. And it's fucked up looking at it from where we are today. The thought that I just go to someone's house and be like, we're hooking up now, right? And just go talk to her dad and have a scotch and be like, so is it cool if I plow your sister? Are you going to pay me anything for that? What a weird fucking system.
Yeah.
But again, you have to put yourself in that headspace. So I thought her friend, it was a wonderful performance, and it really kind of gave a scope to, what the movie's about. Because she's essentially all right, Keira Knightley and Rosamund Pike, sorry I don't have hold out for a guy with 50 carriages looks. Yeah. Maybe fucking stop judging the shit out of everyone. Oh, we can all be cheeky. When we have gigantic, perfect eyes, like, bring it down. I got this normal face with no cheekbones. I don't get opinions, okay?
Sorry, us normies have to marry who we get, all right?
Sorry, Elizabeth. I still shovel out the stalls, so my traps are huge. No one wants to hear me fucking clap back at them, okay? Elizabeth, you bitch.
See, that's the scene that's missing. That's the part of the scene that's really missing. You
just
bitch.
her walking up to Elizabeth, like, clapping in her face, and you fucking sack of shit.
Giving her the John Cena.
Yeah. Oh, you think you're so cool because you just walk around looking beautiful all day? What do you do? What do you do, Elizabeth? You have no skills. You don't practice.
All you do is read.
Bitch.
All you do is read and walk around rooms with that lady.
The only thing you practice is making people not sure if you like them or not. That's fucked up.
Could not. That was another thing I could not stop laughing at is when they go to Darcy's estate and who's that woman? She's in Yellowstone too, but I also remember
the redhead sister.
Yeah, the redhead sister. When they're like, should we walk around the room? And I'm like, what is happening? And
that's what I do to get steps on my Fitbit, though.
Andrea had to explain it to me. She's like, oh, this is what the ladies did back then, because that was something, because that's what you could do. You could either read or walk around rooms. I'm like, it's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then
a miserable life.
And then they're having these like conversations, and they're like, oh, is Mr. Darcy eavesdropping? He goes, no, leave me alone. I'm trying to do my shit.
Are you checking out my buns, Mr. Darcy? And it's like, ew, gross, I'm quilling.
Ew, gross. Ew.
Yuck. I'm not supposed to be likable until the third act, please. Fuck
that's
off.
like the whole bit, man. See, that's
I think, again, if I had a beef, I think Mr. Darcy is very miscast. Because he does not have the charm or the sex appeal for me to be like, she'll put up with his shit. He does have the wallet, the fat fucking wallet that could break the roof of their house.
I'd pretty much.
I think that was a miss in the casting myself. Because everyone else is essentially perfect in their roles.
I mean, to be fair, this is like, that's the Darcy character. Are you talking about just by looks, or are you talking about...
No, by himself, right? Like, everything, like, there are guys that are aloof.
That's the Darcy character, though.
Right, I understand the character. I'm saying you need a guy who has so much charisma that it is believable that we can look past his myriad faults.
But he's not supposed... The character itself is not supposed to be charismatic.
The movie leaves us no option but to imagine it being the statue room. He has so little charisma. I mean, there has to be some version of this. Colin Firth has charisma.
It's just... I mean, if you're talking about the actor, I would 1,000% disagree. I think Matthew McFadden's wonderful.
I mean, I only off the top of my mind feel like I know him from this. And there are moments where it feels like he's on the right page. It's just really hard to buy the setup that somehow true love wins over his fucking cock-like disposition.
Again,
and I know he's not supposed to be likable, but what moment did she see past anything in him? And it's like, he could be.
Well, that goes to, when any of us meet the person that we want to be with, regardless, there's always going to be someone who goes, her?
First thing you do is you check their Venmo transaction history. No,
that's exactly. See, that's the part of this movie we're missing.
That was the missing part of the film for me. And again, I have no background with this story. It was nearly impossible for me to accept that ballroom moment of them dancing together, zoned in. They are each other's world for but a moment. I find that pretty impossible to believe, right? That at the end of the Moors, where it's like, one, your aunt fucking walked up in my house insulting me. You know what I mean? Dame Judy, I'm going to dent your forehead, right? That's what's her. Yeah. Calling me all these fucking names and talking shit. Of course she was going to marry her then because she can stick it to the old lady.
She's marrying her. He's marrying his cousin.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the thing we do here. You know that.
That's the thing we do.
You know that. Your own cousin just tried it.
You know this, and you try to come up in my house.
What's your fucking beef, Elizabeth? What you got going on with everyone in this town?
And then Elizabeth, get out of my house.
Fuck you. Roll up on your old ass. No, it was impossible for me to believe they could fall for each other. And so it leaves that hint of this is a societal move. So the ending where they're sitting on their fucking lily pad amongst their fucking fountains in their mansion, it's like, just
Weird
call me
ending.
Mrs. Darcy the days that you are irradiated with love for me. He's like, Mrs. Darcy,
Irradiated
Mrs.
with
Darcy,
love.
yeah, whatever the fuck, right?
Irradiated.
Incandescent.
If that does not tell you Griffey's acumen for romance in this movie alone,
All right.
I don't know what else to
all
tell
right,
you.
sorry, we're not all proper wordsmiths like
That
Wendy.
absolutely says exactly what you need to know.
It was irradiation because she was fucking lying and
There it
poisoning
is.
him with it.
Irradiated love, happy.
She was irradiating him with her lies.
Will you please tell me? You may call me Mrs. Darcy when you have a Chernobyl-like love for me.
When your boner melts down upon us. And we can't see it again for 7 years because it's such rapturous lovemaking. No,
It is.
I find that was the one miss of the movie. I fucking loved the
makes me
time
sad,
with
man.
Donald Sutherland. I love the sisters' interplay, right? They're wonderful. I love the way they shot the film. I love the way the film moves. Right? The side characters are all great. Mr. Darcy was where it lacked for me.
I'm not gonna lie, that makes me sad.
And even
man.
at the end, it's like he's in it with Keira Knightley. He's not doing a bad job. There's no moment in the film where I could accept they would fall for each other.
It makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie. I really do. I really do love Matthew McFadden's casting in this movie, and I think he is exceptional. And you know, there's just
I have no
think
other
that-
Darcys, right? Like, he's my Darcy. He's the only one I know.
also don't think there's. I mean, look, it's my understanding, and this is from my wife. Colin Firth is the perennial Mr. Darcy. There is no other actor who has done
Exudes
Mr. Darcy.
charisma and sex appeal.
No, let's stop there.
Oh, he
Like,
does.
it is. He has done that's like the adaptation performance that most people point to. But again, like, it's just one of those things where I think that he is, and having seen more than one version of this, I think that that's the character in general. So, like, they're not supposed to be charismatic. They're supposed to be, it's a stuffy British dude who is super rich that, you know, ends up getting to plow because he's rich. You know, it's
But it's like, I don't want to see Bob Cratchit's wife blowing Ebenezer Scrooge at the end. Just
I
because he
think
bought a
that's-
turkey. You know what I mean?
I think that's pretty.
Succinct.
That is no. That's a
Bullseye?
Pretty
Nailed it?
ridiculous. That's a pretty ridiculous comparison.
Would you like that scene at the end of A Christmas Carol?
I'm assuming that scene happens anyways.
Damn! All right.
No, I don't. But I also don't equate.
Lock Tiny Tim in the dungeon. It's time.
I don't
to
equate.
laugh.
I also don't equate Matthew McFadden with Ebenezer Scrooge. So,
That's what you're telling me. He's an unlikable rich fuck.
we're talking about characterization wise. Then you would have a problem with the broad spectrum of Mr. Darcy's across any medium.
Just needed that charisma, that irresistible animal magnetism. Like, if Jason Momoa was Mr. Darcy, you'd be like, nailed it. I understand exactly now.
I just wholeheartedly disagree, but that's fine.
Mr. Momoa, can you save my sister?
I mean, if Jason Momoa ended up being Mr. Darcy, I would laugh
yeah.
my ass off and also probably find it very believable because he's not that bad of an actor.
He's a great fucking actor and has animal magnetism. Yeah, I
Animal
was
magnetism
surprised.
is not what Mr. This is an interesting window into the Griffin.
Whatever the outer layer, the cake's got to be good. Mr. Darcy got no cake in this movie.
Untrue, but that's fine.
He has the veneer, right? He has the green frosting.
It's very much your read.
What's in the middle?
No one else's.
Probably a lot of people. Probably I'm speaking for the masses.
No, but
Those of us that don't have carriages and cooks and shit. We're just the normies. That's what we're watching it as.
You're now
Ignored by the cinema elite. We are legion.
Here we go. See, this
Neither
is the
here nor
problem,
there.
is every time we have this conversation and you and I disagree about something, you decide that it makes you the Donald Trump of this conversation.
Oh, right. How fucking dare you? First off.
You elites. And then I'm like, you live in a house too, right?
All right. That's how it's going to be. I was about to say I actually really liked the movie. I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Why wouldn't you say that?
This has all of the earmarks of things I thought were going to be off-putting to me. Exceptionally well-made movie.
I legitimately, when Andre and I sat down last night, Andre was like, what do you think Griffey's going to say? I'm like, I think he's probably going to hate the movie for most of it. I think he will probably say it looks really good.
I liked the movie. I was very engaged.
That's good.
I really enjoyed this movie.
It was just lacking zombies.
It definitely could have used some zombies. No doubt about it. If Mr. Darcy gets mauled at the end, this movie goes up like 3 grades for me. Yeah. She's just like, oh no. He didn't sign
I think
that
if that happens at the end of any movie, any Regency costume drama, you're pretty much
tell you this,
sealing the deal for us.
I'm almost caught up on all the Oscar movies this year. 95% of them needed a zombie in it, at least. There are a lot of 2.5-hour movies that want nothing more than for me to waste my time.
Yeah.
The Oscars we need to have a best editing category that's just, I got that shit down to 90 minutes.
Oscars were not... I am going to say, I'll say it. This Oscar batch, short of maybe like 2 movies, not good.
A lot of fine movies. I don't see the exceptional movies this year. So we are going to do a mini show talking about all of the contenders and what our favorites, what we personally want to win, not what we think will win. That's kind of a moot cause. But if we were voters, what we'd vote for. We're going to do a mini show on that leading up to the Oscars. So if you're watching and catching up, follow that. On my letterbox, JL Griffey 621 or JL Griffey, I have an entire list if you want to actually try to go through all of them. I think it's 51 or 53 movies this year. But yeah, we will be talking about that. We've got more stories of Amour coming up. Next week will be Big Fish, Tim Burton's Big Fish, Albert Finney, Ewan McGregor. I'm so excited to talk about this movie.
I love Ewan McGregor, man.
Yeah, we've got great content over on our Patreon, patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. We got commentary coming up, more exclusives. We just dropped our exclusive episode on The Mist. We got really fun stuff going on over there. If you're a patron, you get to vote on those, right? We have awesome stuff coming up next month. You can get in on it right now and vote. Let us know what you want to hear. Throw out themes, all that kind of stuff. You join our community over at patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. It is absolutely the best way to help the show, and we appreciate it so much for those of you who do and those of you who are about to. The YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Leave those ratings and reviews. And more importantly, send a personalized message with an episode of the show you like to someone who you think will enjoy it. We'll take it from there. That's our goal for this year. So thank you guys very much for your time.
We love you.
Not you, Darcy.
Thank you.
Not you, Darcy. Ooh. We should have been in the fucking movie.
We did not do that much accent. That's pretty good for us.
We should have been in the movie. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, yeah, obviously. I should have been Darcy's friend who had been like, dude, you got to like put it out on Front Street that you like this chick. You're going to lose her. What's the matter with you?
You could be the priest.
That guy over there, that guy with the beard over there and the P-tail is telling us that he's going to go after Elizabeth if you don't.
Right. I'm going to win Elizabeth from the streets. Right? Then we'll see what really was winning.
Then we'll talk about what real Pride and Prejudice is.
Oh, bother!